Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayana, unto Naranarayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, entitled Creation, Chapter 8, Prayers of Queen Kunti and Parikshit saved, text number 10. Abhidravati Mamisha सरस्तप्ता यशो विभो कामं दहतु मां नाथ मामे गर्भो निपात्यताम् अभिद्रवती मामीश सरस्तप्ता यशो विभो कामं दहतु मां नाथ मामे गर्भो निपात्यताम् अभिद्रवती मामीश सरस्तप्ता यशो विभो कामं दहतु मां नाथ मामे गर्भो निपात्यताम्. अभिद्रवती मामीश
सरस्तप्ता यशो विभो
सरस्तप्ता यशो विभो
कामं दहतु मां नाथ मामे गर्भो
निपात्यताम्.
अभिद्रवती मामेश
अभिद्रवती मामीश
सारस्तप्त यशो विभो
सरस्तप्ता यशो विभो
कामं धातु मम नाथ मामे गर्भो निपात्यताम्.
माताजी.
अभिद्रवती मामीश
सरस्तप्ता यशो विभो
कामं दहतु मां नाथ मामे गर्भो
निपात्यताम्. Anybody online? Okay, you can chant Ajita Mataji.
अभिद्रवती मामीश सरस्तप्त्या यशो विभो कामं दहतु मां नाथ मामे गर्भो निपायताम्.
Sorry, Ankit. Synonyms. Abhidravati, coming towards. Mam, me. Isa, O Lord. Saraha, the arrow. Tapta, fiery. Ayasaha, iron. Bibho, O great one. Kamam,
Kamam,
desire.
desire.
Dahatu,
Dahatu,
let it burn.
let it burn.
Mam,
Mam,
me.
me.
Natha,
Natha,
O protector.
O protector.
Ma,
Mam,
not.
not.
Me,
Me,
my.
my.
Garbhaha,
Garbhaha,
embryo.
embryo.
Nipatyatam,
Nipatyatam,
be aborted.
be aborted.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Translation: O my Lord, you are all powerful. A fiery iron arrow is coming towards me fast. My Lord, let it burn me personally if you so desire. But please do not let it burn and abort my embryo. Please do me this favor, my Lord. Translation with repetition. O my Lord,
O my Lord,
you are all powerful.
you are all powerful.
A fiery iron arrow
A fiery iron arrow
is coming towards me fast.
is coming towards me fast.
My Lord,
My Lord,
let it burn me personally
let it burn me personally
if you so desire.
if you so desire.
But please do not let it burn
But please do not let it burn
and abort my embryo.
and abort my embryo.
Please do me this favor,
Please do me this favor,
my Lord.
my Lord.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
This incident took place after the death of Abhimanyu, the husband of Uttara. Abhimanyu's widow, Uttara, should have followed the path of her husband. But because she was pregnant and Maharaj Parikshit, a great devotee of the Lord, was lying in embryo, she was responsible for his protection. The mother of a child has a great responsibility in giving all protection to the child. And therefore Uttara was not ashamed to express this frankly before Lord Krishna. Uttara was the daughter of a great king, the wife of a great hero, and student of a great devotee, and later she was the mother of a good king also. She was fortunate in every respect. Thus ends the wonderful transcendental Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we are coming back to Bhagavatam after some break, some gap. And as we saw in this section of Bhagavatam, this is the prayer offered by Uttara. Uttara is carrying Maharaj Parikshit in her embryo, and when she saw that this arrow which is released by Aswathama, this is the second time, she runs for protection to Krishna. And we saw in the previous verse where she says, Pahi Pahi Mahayogin Deva Deva Jagatpate Nanyam Tvad Pashye Yat Mrityu Parasparam. Pahi Pahi Mahayogin Deva Deva Jagatpate. So she is addressing Krishna as Mahayogin, as Jagatpate, and also telling Nanyam Tvad Pashye. Apart from you, I don't see any place where I can get fearlessness. Yatra Mrityuhu Parasparam. In this world of duality, in this world where death is certain, it is very difficult to find protection. And continuing further, today's verse, it's a very beautiful verse. So she is telling, Avidravati Mamisha Sarastapta Yasho Bibho Kamam Dahatu Mamnatha Mame Garbho Nipatyatam. Abhidravati. Abhidravati is which is coming towards. Abhidravati Mam, towards me. Isha. So she is addressing Krishna with two words here. One is Isha and the other one is Natha. Prabhupada translates Natha as protector, Isha is the Supreme Lord. Abhidravati Mam Isha Sarastapta Yasho Bibho. Also Bibho. Bibho is also another word which is used for Krishna. Sarastapta Yasho Bibho. So this arrow which is burning which is made up of iron, ayasa, sarastapta ayasa bibho. It is approaching towards me, and her desire is kamam. This is my desire. I am asking for this benediction. Dahatu mam. Let it burn me. Let it finish me. Mame garbho nipatyata. But let it not touch my embryo. Let my child be protected. This is what she is praying. The translation is, O my Lord, you are all powerful. A fiery iron arrow is coming towards me fast. My Lord, let it burn me personally if you so desire. But please do not let it burn and abort my embryo. Please do me this favor, my Lord. So it's a verse which probably all of us can relate to, especially in our day-to-day life when we encounter so many problems, so many difficulties, and so many reversals. And often when we seek solutions or help, probably the first thing that doesn't come to our mind is the Supreme Lord. We don't reach out to the Supreme Lord when something very unpleasant, unbearable, intolerable thing happens to us. But here from this verse we can learn how Uttara, even though there were so many other people who were present, reaches out to the Supreme Lord asking for protection. And there are a few interesting words which Prabhupada has used in this, though these words are not there in the verse itself. Oh my Lord, you are all powerful. That particular sentence you will not find in the translation, but you can see from Bibho, from Natha. Natha is a protector, and a great one, Bibho. That is combinedly can be put into this one sentence. Oh my Lord, you are all powerful. Then there is a sentence, there are a few words which Prabhupada is using, if you so desire. Actually, this is the beauty of Bhagavatam, this is the beauty of Vedic scriptures, which tells us that the Lord has a separate desire. He has an independent desire, he is Swarat. And often we want the Lord to act based on our desire, which may not happen. And the beauty of Bhagavatam is, if we flip through the pages of Bhagavatam and see countless examples of various devotees which are mentioned, the greatness of these devotees lie when they align themselves with the Lord's desire. So if you so desire, if you don't desire, then it can be, probably we both will be killed or my embryo will be finished. But it is very important to have this word when we are praying anything, if you so desire. So like we were discussing on the class for preparing our consciousness for Janmashtami, where I had taken this verse from the prayers by the demigods when Krishna was present in the womb of Devaki. Satyavratam satyaparam trisatyam satyasya yonim nihitam cha satye satyasya satyam rita satya netram satyatmakam tvam sharanam prapannaha. Very important verse where the translation goes, the demigods prayed, O Lord, you never deviate from your vow, which is always perfect, because whatever you decide is perfectly correct and cannot be stopped by anyone. Being present in the three phases of cosmic manifestation, creation, maintenance, and annihilation, you are the supreme truth. Indeed, unless one is completely truthful, one cannot achieve your favor, which therefore cannot be achieved by hypocrites. You are the active principle, the real truth, in all the ingredients of creation, and therefore you are known as Antaryami, the inner force. You are equal to everyone, and your instructions apply for everyone for all time. You are the beginning of all truth. Therefore, offering our obeisances, we surrender unto you. Kindly give us protection. Very interestingly, we don't pay attention to some of these words which Bhagavatam uses, and this is a prayer which is offered by the demigods, which includes Brahma, which includes Shiva. These are all very big, powerful personalities. They have been entrusted with so big responsibilities. Brahma is considered to be the secondary creator. He does Visarga. But all of them are coming, in a secretive manner to that prison house to offer prayers to this unborn child. Why? And why they are repeating so many times this word Satyam, Satyam, Satyam? And if you carefully see this translation, very, very interesting, why only the Supreme Lord can give us protection. In the Krishna book, towards the end, there is a chapter which comes, Prayers by the Personified Vedas. How many of you have read that? You have read. Prayers by the personified Vedas. Krishna book. You have read? There, very interestingly, Brahma and Shiva, they are addressed with a term. Do you know what it is? So Brahma is addressed as modern. Modern, M-O-D-E-R-N. We say we are living in a modern world with all kinds of whatever technology and such things. But Brahma there is addressed as modern. Not only Brahma, all other demigods are addressed as modern. One may question, modern means something which is happening now, or maybe few days back or something like that. Why Brahma is addressed as modern? The reason being they are there after the creation. So that is why they are considered modern, as per the prayers by the personified Vedas. But the Supreme Lord is present before the creation. He is there during the creation, and he is also there after annihilation. That's why he is known as Antaryami. Actually, the prayers by the demigods are something very significant. We need to understand from their prayers the mood. The last line of this translation, they are saying, kindly give us protection. So even the demigods, they seek protection in life, because we are all part of this material world where things can go wrong, where every moment there is danger, where every moment there could be something which we have never expected. And whom should we go to? Whom should we ask? Whom should we seek protection from? It is the Supreme Lord, because he only can give us the true protection. But often when people think about protection, they think the way they are thinking, the way they are expecting things to happen, if the Lord does like that, that is considered protection. But it is not true. And today's section, today's class, I would talk about Lord's protection in various ways, especially in 3 different ways how Lord gives protection. To understand, it is not always in line with what we think, but the Lord's protection is still there. The first one is actually the Lord removes the ignorance in our heart, and this is how he gives protection. Where it is mentioned, if you see in the Bhagavad Gita Chaturshloki, the last verse, Krishna says, Tesham evanu kampartham aham ajnanajam tamaha nasayami atma bhavasto jnana deepena bhasvata. Very important thing. We may not understand the conclusions of the scriptures. It's very difficult. It's not easy. We may be busy with our household activities. But at least if we are engaging in devotional service, this is the assurance by the Lord. Tesham evanu kampartham. Out of great compassion, aham ajnanajam tamaha. I remove the darkness of ignorance from the heart. Nasayami atma bhavasto jnana deepena bhasvata. Carrying the torchlight of knowledge, I remove the darkness of ignorance from the heart. To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. Of course, the previous verse also has to be seen in connection with this. Who are these people? We may think, okay, so I am also doing some devotional service. Then probably the Lord will remove the darkness of ignorance from my heart. But in the previous verse, the Lord says, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mama upayantite. Tesham satata yuktanam. Those who are constantly engaged in devotional service. How? Priti purvakam. With love and devotion. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam. To those people I give them the intelligence. Dadami buddhi yogam. This buddhi is very important. Without that intelligence, a person will not take up this path of devotion. Very easy to get distracted. So to those devotees, the Lord removes the darkness of ignorance from their heart with the shining lamp of knowledge. There is a very beautiful verse which comes in Srimad Bhagavatam, which talks about the special characteristics of devotion. If somebody is engaging in devotion, how it is superior compared to jnana, karma and yoga. Yanasthaya naro rajan na pramadyeta karihichit dhavan nirmilya va netre na skhalen na pate diha. Sometimes there are some kind of competitions which happen where 2 devotees or 2 people are asked to tie their legs and then they have to run. How many of you have done that? Achha, very nice. And 3-legged race. Okay. This is 2 or 3? Or 3 people will be? Okay. So one is tied. Or there is another thing that happens where somebody is blindfolded and they have to run or they have to do something. Such things have you done? So if you are blindfolded, how easy it is to run, or how easy it is, how difficult it is. It's very difficult, isn't it? It's not easy. But here Krishna is telling, this is towards the end, it's a dialogue which is happening between Krishna and Uddhava. Yan asthayo naro rajan na pramadyate karihichit dhavan nirmilya va netre na skhale na patedyah. Very powerful verse. Dhavan nirmilya, even if you are running in the path of devotion blindfolded, na skhale na patedyah, you will not fall down. O king, one who accepts this process of devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead will never blunder on this path in this world. Even while running with eyes closed, he will never trip or fall. Now, what is the significance of this verse? Actually, if you see the verses in context, this one, see, somebody who's engaging in the path of knowledge, he will receive jnana, he will receive knowledge. Somebody who is engaging in the path of karma, he will get some pious credit and he will enjoy the fruits of that. Somebody who is engaging in the path of yoga, he will get some mystic perfection. What happens to someone who is engaging in devotion? So Krishna says, actually, somebody who is engaging in devotion, his false ego gets completely crushed. He realizes that he is actually Dasa Dasanu Dasa. Our constitutional position is Jivera Swarup Hai Nitya Krishna Das. This achievement, this realization doesn't come in jnana, karma or yoga. So since this false ego, which is so inflated, which acts as our biggest hindrance in taking up to this path of devotion or surrender, gets crushed, that is why there is an assurance that that devotee will never blunder on his path, or he will never fall down. He will never trip or fall. Na skhalena napatedyaha. Prabhupada mentions that sometimes the injunctions of the scriptures are very difficult to follow, and one may not follow it. But more difficult than following the scriptural injunctions is following the wish of a devotee or the wish of a Vaishnava. The wish of the Vaishnava is why it is more difficult to follow than the scriptural injunctions, because the scriptures are not going to come back after you to say, why didn't you follow these injunctions? But the Vaishnavas, they question, you were asked to do this, why you are not following this? Right? So more difficult than the scriptural injunctions is following the wish of the Vaishnava, but more difficult than the wish of the Vaishnava is the whims of Krishna. If you so desire, sometimes Krishna creates some situations which we would have never anticipated. Maybe our health will go for a toss. Maybe something which is never expected, happens in our life. Can we see the hand of the Lord? Actually, the plan of the Lord gets orchestrated. The way the Lord acts is through the Vaishnavas in such a way that our desires sometimes get completely, whatever we had desired, we have to do something completely against that. A devotee is considered to be great or superior when he knows or when he immediately adapts and aligns to these desires of the Vaishnavas, because that is where lies the whims of Krishna. If you see, there is a verse in Bhagavad Gita in the 11th chapter, 34th verse, where it is mentioned, Dronam cha bhismam cha jayadratham cha karnam tatha anyan api yodha viran maya hatam stvam jahima vyatishta yuddhasva jetasi rane sapatnan. Very beautiful verse, very small verse. And the translation goes, the blessed Lord said, all the great warriors, Drona, Bhisma, Jayadratha, Karna, are already destroyed. Simply fight and you will vanquish your enemies. So this actually in the purport, Prabhupada says that every plan is made by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But he is so kind and merciful to his devotees that he wants to give the credit to his devotees who carry out his plan according to his desire. Now, it's a very important thing. Actually, everything that is happening in our life, it is by the plan of the Supreme Lord. The personalities here, they are mentioned, Drona, Bhisma, Jayadratha and Karna, they are already destroyed. So what Krishna is telling, simply fight and you will vanquish your enemies. And there is a word which is used by Krishna in the verse called Vyatishta, Ma Vyatishta, which is a very important word. That means a devotee of the Lord, maybe he is bewildered but never discouraged. That's what Prabhupada says. Vyatishta is, he is never disturbed, not discouraged, never disturbed. So he may be bewildered but not disturbed. This is a very interesting thing. You may have, you may not understand why a particular thing is happening in your life, But nobody gives up this hope that I should not practice Krishna consciousness. This is the right thing because this is Krishna's plan. And when we align ourselves with Krishna's plan, then we can come out of all these difficulties. There is a very interesting thing which all of us we know, where this illiterate Brahmana is trying to read this Bhagavad Gita upside down, and the tears of ecstasy are coming out from his eyes. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sees this, he was wonderstruck, and he asked this Brahmana, why are you reading this book upside down, and why tears are coming out of your eyes? The answer which this Brahmana gives is a very important one. Vipra kahe murkha ami, sabdartha na jani, suddha asuddha gita padi, guru agya mani. Vipra kahe murkha ami, I am a foolish person. Sabdartha na jani, I don't know the meanings of this verse, this scripture, Bhagavad Gita. Suddha asuddha gita padi, but I am still reading this Bhagavad Gita, guru agya mani, because this is the agya of guru. Actually, the secret of spiritual success lies in obeying, in following the instructions of Guru. Guru Agya Mani. When Guru Agya, when we are following the instructions of Guru, even though we are ignorant, we are incapable, we have no qualifications, everything gets fulfilled. But when somebody is trying to do things independently, based on his false ego, based on his dictation of his mind, that is where there is no, he may get some material success, spiritual success doesn't come. Because the spiritual success only is given to them who are bereft of their false ego, who are completely convinced about Dasa, Dasa, Anudasa. The Brahmana replied, I am illiterate and therefore I do not know the meaning of the words. Sometimes I read the Bhagavad Gita correctly, sometimes incorrectly. But in case I am doing this in compliance with the orders of my in any case, I am doing this in compliance with the orders of my spiritual master. In Mahabharata, there is a very interesting episode which comes. Actually, Sahadev, apart from being a sword fighter, is also known as an astrologer. So, when the battle of Kurukshetra was going on, Duryodhan one day he goes to Sahadev and he says, I know you are a great astrologer. Can you tell us something by which we can defeat these Pandavas? So those days, the timings were different, and the Kshatriyas used to meet apart from the battle, and they can have this friendly conversation. So had it been probably anybody from our side, we would have said, come on, we are enemies, we are fighting against each other, how will I share this secret with you? But Sahadev actually shares the secret, and he says there is a Kalavali Yajna, and if that Kalavali Yajna is performed on the day of Amavasya, when there is no moon, then you will become victorious. So Duryodhan was very happy because he realized that Amavasya is tomorrow. So he was supposed to perform this Kalavali Yajna, and he was getting ready for that. And Krishna, being present in the camp of Pandavas, got to know this. So what he did was, he started doing some tarpan. Usually in Amavasya day, people do their shraddhas and all for their forefathers. So he started doing this on one day before, in the night. One day before Amavasya, he started doing this. Seeing this, all the demigods from the sky, they were bewildered. What is happening? Is Krishna, why is he doing this? Probably Krishna has forgotten something. It is tomorrow. We should go and help. The two personalities who were the most confused were Chandra and Surya. Because Amavasya is tomorrow. So they consulted each other. Is it tomorrow or today? What is happening? So we said, no, it is tomorrow. So then they both came down to Krishna and said that, well, Krishna, there seems to be some mistake. The Amavasya is tomorrow and you are doing it today. So Krishna said, Amavasya is when sun and moon are together in one line, and you both are standing in one line, hence today is Amavasya. And Kalavali Yajna was performed, the Pandavas were called, and foolishly, Duryodhan, not knowing, did the Kalavali Yajna the other day, but the benefits were taken by the Pandavas. So what I'm trying to say is, when we try to align, when Krishna is intervening and is there in our lives, then even the biggest of obstacles get removed from our lives. There is a verse which comes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given this instruction to Rupa and Sanatana to write this literature to explain how somebody can go from the path of Shraddha to Prema, because it's a very tedious process. Bhakti is not some sentiment. It is not some kind of, okay, so many people are coming, this is a nice thing, we will go and do some chanting and singing, and then we will come back. The real difficult part in the process of bhakti is anartha nivrati. Very difficult it is. And often that anarthas don't go and they increase if we are not paying attention. So here, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this instruction to Rupa and Sanatan is a very important one. Prabhu Agyaya Kaila Savasastrara Vichar, Brajera Niguda Bhakti Karila Prachar. If somebody really wants to prachar, to do this, to broadcast this message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there are some prerequisites. Not anybody can do it. It's not possible. First is Prabhura Agyaya. One has to have the direction or the instruction from one's authority. Prabhura Agyaya. Prabhura Agyaya Kaila Savasastrara Vichar. Actually, before this verse, 1.33, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says about Sadachar. Before we do the vichar of the scriptures, one needs to have Sadachar. One needs to do that acharan himself. He has to follow himself. Then he has to meditate. Meditation or contemplation on scriptures is possible only when somebody is doing Sadachar. Of course, the first prerequisite is Prabhura Agyaya. Prabhura Agyaya Kaila Sabasastrara Vichar. In between there is Sadachar, and only when there is Sadachar, there is Vichar. Vichar is not possible for someone who is not doing Sadachar. You don't respect, you don't understand the essence of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, and you don't want to follow those difficult parts, but you want to become a preacher, it will not work. Prabhura Agyaya Kaila Sabasastrara Vichar. Only when there is Sadachar, one can do Vichar, and then Brajera Niguda Bhakti Karila Prachar. Then only Prachar is possible, that is to Niguda Bhakti. So the Goswami has carried out the preaching work of devotional service on the basis of an analytical study of all confidential Vedic literatures. This was in compliance with the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Thus one can understand the most confidential devotional service of Vrindavan. It's otherwise not possible. There was a conversation of some of the God brothers with Prabhupada when they were asking, how could he manage to spread this Krishna consciousness far and wide with so many incompetent, incapable devotees? How was it possible? It's actually a mystery. It's not possible, because if you see in India, there were so many. Bhagavatam Prabhu, who's the conversation? What is the conversation? So actually in India, there are so many people who are, who are knowing or who are knowers of the Hinduism. There are so many people who are extremely great scholars, but they could not spread this message far and wide. The question was by the God brothers to Prabhupada, how could you manage to do this? And Prabhupada said that my disciples had firm faith in my instruction. Actually, that is the secret. That faith, that belief, that conviction that I am following the right path. I have taken to this path of Krishna consciousness. And that faith is not a sentimental thing. That faith has to become a sastric faith. And the sastric faith only comes when we read the scriptures, when our ignorance is gone. Otherwise, simply because I like someone, I am coming here, अच्छा प्रसाद मिल रहा है, थोड़ा कीर्तन करने के लिए मिल रहा है, we are happy with that. That is the beginning thing. That is Laukik Shraddha. When we see some devotees are coming, we are doing something. But that Laukik Shraddha needs to change to Sastric Shraddha, where our conviction about following this process becomes very, very strong, deep-rooted. If that is not the case, days will pass by, time will go, but our conviction inside will be very, very weak. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, while instructing Sanatan Goswami, he gives the example of one sapling. Like when the Bhakti Lata is growing in our heart, the Bhakti Lata has got a very tiny root, very tiny, because it's a sapling, so the root has not grown. It is very tiny. But imagine if, after years, the tree has become very big, and it's a big tree, but the roots are still the same, like little bit, this much. What will happen? A small little disturbance, the tree will get uprooted. Something like that can happen to us, and that is what a sadhaka should be very careful, because this is not about a day or few months, or I don't like, I like this, if I like this I will do. This is a science, and the science of self-realization or the science of devotional service lies in how much deep-rooted our roots are, how much strongly convinced we are about. It is not about coming for a ritual to sit in a Bhagavatam class where we are sleepy, we have no interest. It is a process. The hearing is so important because it purifies our heart. But when we take it as ritual, when we take it as some formality, okay, let us hear, after that anyway prasadam will be there, we will take prasadam, we will miss out. We will miss out and the roots will never get deep rooted. So the secret of advancing in devotional service, as it is mentioned, is having that faith in the orders of the Guru or your orders of your authority and aligning oneself to Krishna's plan. This is the first thing how Krishna does. He removes the ignorance in our heart. The second thing is the mistakes that we do. Sometimes when we do some mistakes, we feel that's the end of the life, that's the end of the world. But actually that is not true. Krishna still gives us many chances, many hopes. One classic example of this is in Ramayana, where Sugriva was asked to help Lord Ram in searching after Mother Sita. But during the 4 months of Chaturmasya, he got so engaged in his entertainment, in his personal this thing, that he forgot this instruction of Ram. So Lord Ram orders Lakshmana that you go and warn Sugriva about the instructions that was given to him. So actually it is a very beautiful verse. I don't have it right now. The verse says something like this, that Lord Ram instructs Lakshmana that you tell Sugriva that the path which Bali took, which I made Bali took, is available for him. If he doesn't do that, then he'll also follow the same path. So when Lakshmana saw Ram being angry for the first time, very rarely, he said, why should I warn him? I'll go and kill him. He said, no, don't kill him, just go and warn him. So Lakshmana goes and warns Sugriva, and Sugriva comes back, and very interestingly, Lord Ram allows him, despite the fact that he was doing this mistake, to remain the king and to lead those soldiers in help in the search of Mother Sita. So in our practice of devotional life, there could be sometimes fall down, there could be sometimes some mistakes, there could be sometimes some blunder. But interestingly, Lord still forgives and allows us to continue, provided we pick ourselves up, realize our mistake, repent for it, and want to move on in life. Very powerful verse from Bhagavatam. This particular aspect of the Lord in the 10 subjects of Srimad Bhagavatam, which starts with Atra Sarga Visargascha, there is a word which comes called Poshana. Poshana means who's nourishing. The Lord nourishes us despite the fact that we are falling down, we are tripping, we are doing mistakes. And the classic example of this is in the life of Ajamil, where it is mentioned, Mriyamano Harer Nama, Grinan Putrapacharitam, Ajamilopi Agada Dhama, Kim Uta Shradhaya Grinan. Very, very powerful verse. While suffering at the time of death, Ajamila chanted the holy name of the Lord. And although the chanting was directed towards his son, he nevertheless returned home back to Godhead. Therefore, if one faithfully and inoffensively chants the holy name of the Lord, where is the doubt that he will return to Godhead? Where is the doubt that he will return to Godhead? So basically, Mriyamano Hare Nama, though Ajamil got deviated, and even at the time of death, he called out to his son, but still the Lord forgave him, and he allowed him to come back home, back to God. Mriyamano Hare Nama, Grinan Putropacharitam, Ajamilopi Agada Dhama, Kimutta Shraddhaya Grinan. So it's a very powerful, these are all hope-giving things. How the Lord is so merciful, so kind. There is a conversation which Prabhupada has with his morning in his morning walk along with his disciples. He says that there are so many examples that we come across in newspaper and some TV channel of a family feud where there will be a father and there will be an obedient son and a disobedient son, and there will be some kind of fight, some kinds of crisis, and probably the father expels the disobedient son. Whereas in the case of Krishna, even though somebody is atheistic, somebody is not following, somebody doesn't want to do this, still Krishna maintains, protects, patiently looks when this person is going to turn towards me. So he gives this assurance, he gives this, he patiently waits for us to turn towards him, even if we are doing mistakes. So the second thing is ignorance. And the third thing is anarthas. So the protection of the Lord comes in the form of removing our anarthas. This is the most painful thing. Actually, this is done by the Guru, like, the example which is given of Balaram, who uses the plow to plow the field, the heart. And when the anarthas are removed, it is very painful. The anarthas are those things which are of no value to us, like greed, lust, anger, all this. Lust, anger, greed, kama, krodha, lova, moha, mada, matsarya. And when they are removed from the heart, it is a painful thing. But when they are removed, we feel actually the heart becomes the proper place for practicing devotion. One example which I thought is very appropriate is Bali Maharaj. Bali Maharaj is a devotee of the Lord, but he was bound, and he all his prestige, all his whatever like a king deserves, were taken away from him, and he was just lying there in front of Vamanadev. That time Bali Maharaj prays. He says a very beautiful verse. He says, "Pumsam slaghyatam manye dandam arhatamarpitam yamna mata pita bhrata suhridascha disantihi." Very interesting verse. The translation goes like this: although a father, mother, brother, or friend may sometimes punish one as a well-wisher, they never punish their subordinate like this. But because you are the most worshipable Lord, I regard the punishment you have given me as most exalted. What is so important about this verse? So he is saying, actually, I have never been given a punishment like this, because you took away everything that I had. Then now I have been bound like an animal, and nobody would ever give. You are the Lord of the supreme punishment. So you've given me this punishment, and still you are my worshipable Lord, and I regard this punishment you have given me as most exalted. Why is he saying like this? The reason, this is why Bali Maharaj is considered a Mahajan, is the choice when it comes to in our life, whether we want the enjoyment without Krishna or we want the punishment with Krishna. It is very difficult choice. Who's that pen? Whose pen is falling so many times? So whether we want the enjoyment without Krishna or we want the punishment with Krishna. We would probably like to have enjoyment with Krishna. But when it comes to a choice between a punishment with Krishna, to choose that over enjoyment without Krishna is very difficult. And that is why Bali Maharaj is considered to be a Mahajan. Sometimes when difficulties and reversals and challenges come, that time to appreciate the Lord is very difficult. When everything is going fine, I'm getting promotions, family is also doing nice, they're coming and whatever they're doing, everything is good, Lord is good. We are able to feel the presence of the Lord. But when things go wrong, there also to understand that it is a plan of the Lord, that is very difficult. There is a verse which comes in Bhagavatam, I don't remember where it is, in 1.19 point something, where Parikshit Maharaj praised the Lord, saying that because you were so kind upon Pandavas, especially Arjuna, that I am getting this chance to hear Bhagavatam at my time of crisis. Actually, Parikshit himself is a great devotee, but he is attributing this to his forefather, he is attributing it to his grandfather Arjuna, that because Arjuna was very dear to Krishna, so Krishna doesn't want to leave this protection only to Arjuna, but he wants to have this for the next generation also, for the next generation. And because of Krishna's intimacy with Arjuna, he is getting a chance to hear Bhagavatam. The fact is, he's actually going to die in 7 days' time. He has been cursed. He's going to die, but he's thinking that this is a blessing of the Lord. And this blessing is bestowed upon him because of intimacy of Arjuna with Krishna. So, the Lord's protection comes when we actually align ourselves. And aligning ourselves with Krishna's plan happens when we are in association of devotees, where we are, the plan of the Lord is orchestrated through the Vaishnavas or through the Guru, and when we are trying to remain in that association of devotees, that is how we can make progress over our ignorance, over our anarthas, and over our mistakes. I'll stop here and see if you have any questions or comments. Mistakes, and then anarthas. So he removes the ignorance in our heart.
Yeah.
He allows us to continue despite mistakes. And third is he removes our anarthas in various ways. Like in the case of Bali, it was his pride that he is very strong, very opulent, and he was become victorious over this thing. So the pride was taken away in a very humiliating manner. But to see that it is Lord's hand is not easy. But Lord removes those anarthas from our heart.
So the example of the not falling down even when you're running blind, that is the ignorance part of the protection.
Yeah. Na skhaled na patet. That is ignorance. It's not easy. Even if you are blindfolded, you will not trip or fall.
But even with guidance and with the association of devotees, path of devotion is not easy. It is, but how do you? How
So
I'm
that's
trying
why
to grapple
the
that, so
context was there was a comparison which the Lord makes between Jnani, Karmi, and Yogi and Bhakta. So in case of Jnani, he is getting Jnana, he is getting knowledge. In case of Karmi, he is getting the pious credit to enjoy. In case of Yogi, he is getting the mystic perfection. But in case of Bhakta, what is happening is his false ego is getting crushed or getting molded to understand that he is actually the servant of the Lord. So because of that particular issue, that because of that particular aspect, even though he is blindfolded, he will not fall down. But in case of Jnani, Karmi and Yogis, there is a good chance, even if their eyes are open, they may still fall down or trip. So the process of bhakti, why it is superior, is because it is curbing our false ego properly to understand that we are not this body in a very nice way, where we realize that actually we are servant of Krishna. Because of that one reason, we will not fall down, even if it is, the eyes are blindfolded. That is the verse, that is the meaning.
How to see Lord's hand? Or what is the thought process that we should have? Like say when someone is angry at us, what is the thought process that we should have? Or how to see Lord's hand in it?
No, somebody is angry, who's that somebody, it depends. If the somebody is your authority, then it is different. If the somebody is your colleague, it is different. If the somebody is your husband, it is different. So often what happens is our anarthas we are not able to see. These are like blind spots. When you are driving the car, it is difficult to see that there is a car just behind you. But somebody else can see it very easily. So similarly, actually the process of this devotional service or the process of devotion can be practiced only in association of devotees. They can see it. What are your anarthas? If you are doing it, privately and secretively, those anarthas will never manifest. Only when we come in association of devotees that these things manifest. And when somebody is pointing it out, when somebody is showing it that these are some of the things you should try to overcome, we need to have the humility to accept that. Usually what happens is when something is pointed out, we just can't take it. We revolt because of the false ego. And this false ego is the biggest problem, the most subtle thing. To overcome the gross things is very easy. There's 4 regulative principles one can still follow somehow. But as it gets subtler and subtler, the most subtle thing is false ego. Subtler than mind, subtler than intelligence is false ego. Overcome that is not easy. So that requires practice, and at least if somebody understands the principle and follows it, then it is possible. Because when it happens, when somebody points out that these are things which you should improve, kyun karna hai? That kind of a thing immediately comes. Why are you telling me? And replying back, saying that no, tumhare mein bhi problem hai. So then it's lost. It's gone over there. So everything happens as per Lord's plan. So without the sanction of the Lord, nothing will happen. Hare Hardam, right? So of course, when the people who are sinful, they are doing sinful activities. Is it happening by the Lord's plan? The answer is there is a free will which the Lord has given. He allows everybody to do things as per their wish, right? So a sinful man, when he is doing a sinful activity or something illegally, unlawfully, that is his free will, misuse of free will. But the Lord is permitting him to do that. It is not that the Lord wants that to happen, but the Lord is permitting that person to do in that way so that he gets that feeling of, I'm in control or I'm the enjoyer, that kind of thing comes. But when it comes to a point where the sinful activities in the world or in the earth has become too much, then the Lord has to come down to annihilate these miscreants. That is that he has to do it out of his compassion on those people who are miscreants, like Kamsa and all of those things. When the earth got overburdened, not because of the increase of population, because of the sinful activities of the people, the Lord has to descend and kill these miscreants. Question? Okay. No other question? We'll stop here. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande.